Our next speaker here, his name is Peter Nippi. And Peter Nippi is a member of Kiniston Saulteaux Nation. Peter has had a lengthy career working in Indigenous governance and Indigenous healing initiatives. He served his community for 15 years as a band counselor and as chief, and later, after receiving his certification from Sask Polytechnic, he worked as an addictions counselor. One of Peter's biggest accomplishments is maintaining his sobriety for the past 30 years. This healthy lifestyle has brought him many opportunities to work with Indigenous communities by facilitating and fostering revitalization of traditional Indigenous knowledge systems and language. He emphasizes that these approaches will assist in healing our Indigenous treaty partners from the historical and intergenerational traumas endured by IRS and the Indian Act. Peter has been an Elders Advisor for the past 7 years for the Correctional Service of Canada at the minimum, medium, and maximum security levels. He is currently employed with the Saskatoon Tribal Council as an Indian residential school support worker. Peter has a passion to help others and to bring understanding and knowledge of the past to the present. To assist in these healing initiatives, he has practiced this passion by being a helper to ceremonialists for over 40 years and being a ceremonialist himself for the past 30 years. Peter is very proud of his parents and the way they raised him, and he has said they laid the holistic foundation that connected him to his way of life and identity. He says that the Cree and Saulteaux kinship teachings are integral to ensuing sustainability for future generations. So welcome, Peter, and I'm very excited to hear what you have to share with us today.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Kitana me kunim kina minikagan op meg nungum pagiswe wa witasintaman we at so kataman ani geni na bis no taman. Nimisum siban basic ginon da kwat so ketson nimisome panik kiat so kiat benoti su and we went the man anid no witasintaman we ske taka witasimak so ani ge go chi se ko ma menoi hang nungum mi mamni ke kwat to an binakawan kitana me kunim kina. First and foremost, I just greeted everybody in my language, my Saulteaux language. And what I'm going to share with you is from my late grandfather. I grew up in a log cabin, and I was surrounded in that two-room log cabin in that one room with my mom and dad, my grandma and grandpa, my uncle, and my auntie. And there was kids. There was us kids there, 2 older brothers, and I think one older sister, and 1 young brother. And I had a niece and a cousin that were there in that same household. In the evenings, in the wintertime, my dad would give me tobacco, a pinch of tobacco, and he'd tell me to give me so miss that so, okay? Get your grandfather to tell you stories, legends. And I did. I was able to do that. And we used to huddle around my grandfather and grandmother's bed on the floor, just like you would on like in front of the TV. And my grandfather would start off with creation story. I'm not going to go into creation story, but I'll start off with, I would rather prefer to say it in my language, but none of you would understand. What we talk, I was told, had a lot of gifts. He had so many divine gifts, what he was able to do. And when Creator put him here, he had dominance over everything. Everything was a little brother, a little sister to him. He called everything Simsa. And when he did these things, there was a lot of things that he did. Some people say he was a strict trickster. When I look back now, as I grew older, I started realizing a lot of the things we talked about was about what he did was things that we are not to do. And one of the things I realized listening to my grandfather, my aunts, my uncles, and my grandparents, when they talk about Wiskechak, they taught us the morals and the values we have today. Because Wiskechak started a lot of the values system we have today. There was things that we extrapolated from those teachings. So I used to listen attentively. And one of the things he used to talk about was creation story. I was very fortunate. I listened to Jerry Saddleback talk about part of creation story and the things he talked about, and they were in the same the same way my grandfather, who was a Soto, teach. So all what I've noticed in the crease, in the Cree, with the Crees when they talk about Wisagetsak, it's the same thing as the Sotos with Wisketsak or Nanabush. And I also realized that with the Blackfoot people when they call Nippi. So when you look at all the different linguistics on Turtle Island, Creator gave us all different languages. And when he gave us different languages, it was from Manto, Creator, at the Pechigit. When he gave us those languages, they were given from Creator. They're inherent from Creator. And when they gave us those languages, they're a spiritual language. They're also tied to the land. So as Wisketak, what he was tied to was creation, to spirituality, to Creator. And when Wisketak dominated this earth, everything here was spiritual. So everything we done had cultural and connotations to the earth and to spirituality. So when people talk, especially from a colonial narrative, and they say myth and legends, well, it's more than myth and legends to me. I experienced it. I have lived it. I've lived in the colonial world. And I have also gone through the historical trauma, the intergenerational trauma, and a personal trauma as a result of colonization with the genocidal practices of the colonialists, with the residential schools, the byproducts of that. I was fortunate my mom and dad never went to residential school or stepped inside a church. So did my grandparents. Our grandmother used to tell us that we were First Nations people. When we tried to speak the English language, she said, no, you speak Spudo. She used to point to the color of our skin. I always remember that. But when I talk about this, in the household, today we call it Kotoan in Cree, Botoan in Soto. Everything started in a home fire. When I say in a home fire, it wasn't the chief and council. It wasn't the office of the Treaty Commissioner, and it wasn't Saskatchewan Indian Cultural Center or FSIN or any other entity to teach your children. It started with mushrooms and cookums, aunts and uncles, parents, mom and dad. They had the support of the whole family. When I say that, I experienced that. Having experienced that, I'm grateful today that I remember those stories. And one of the stories I want to start off with is Wisketak. And this goes into different, it all transcends into different stories. Whatever time I have left, I'm going to talk about Wisketak. Like I said, Wisketak has supernatural powers. And he traveled. When Creator, I'll start off with this, and I'm just a little bit of this. When Creator put everything here, he made everything here on Turtle Island. But before on Turtle Island, he made it on top of water. It was on top of water. And it took a little muskrat, a humble little muskrat. That's a big story in itself. But one of the things he made was Wisketak. Wisketak to have dominance over everything. And there was a purpose for everything here on Turtle Island. And every animal had its purpose. The sun, the moon had its purpose, just like the sun represented the man and the moon represented the woman. Everything here on earth had male and female. Every plant species, everything, even human beings. The biggest task that was left was to the woman. And I was told, when I was told creation story, I'm just skimming over this. When creation was made, woman was molded out of this is not from a biblical context. This is from a Nakawe context, Nakawe worldview. When man was made, he was made from mud. And when woman was made, he was made from mud, not from the rib, from mud. But one of the things she was told was that because you come from Mother Earth, that's who you're going to represent. And she was going to pollinate and populate this earth. Every female was given that. And the female was put higher than the man. Because why? The child giving she had. And also why she carries a child in her stomach for 9 months in water, placenta, and that represented the ocean. Make a long story short, when that happened, I was told Wiskachak had a mom and dad, and he had brothers. As a result of that, Wiskachak traveled all over Turtle Island. And when the Turtle Island was made, he was given a companion, a wolf. And that wolf ran around Turtle Island as big as it is. And it came back as a white wolf, an old white wolf. But that was his companion. And that was the one that policed everything on Turtle Island. That was our first conservation officer, because when a wolf kills something in a pack, they leave it for all the other animals to peck. So now, when that happened, Wiskachak wondered. I was told Turtle Island. Gibapamuset, Wiskachak, Mutizo all over he wandered and he walked, showing things to animals, to people, everything he came across. He was giving them the gifts of life. One day he was walking, as he was walking through this low-lying area, valley, as he was walking, had been walking for some time. All of a sudden he was coming to this little brush. As he was walking, and he could hear voices. Every time he walked, he was walking on the edge of a hill, and there was brushes there, little trees, no higher than his waist. As he was walking, all of a sudden he'd hear these noises, laughing going on. I was wondering what the heck's going on. He looked around and he made out he was playing that. He wasn't giving any attention to his surroundings. He was just walking. But he was well aware of what was going on. Every time as he was walking now, he was getting into now higher brush up to his shoulders now. As he was walking, all of a sudden he'd hear a bunch of somebody laughing. And as he walked closer to the bush, they'd stop laughing. Then he thought to himself, well, what the heck are these? Every once in a while, you notice the brush, the bush, all the trees would move, and then they'd go quiet. Then they all laugh again. Then he kept quiet now, and he sat down. Now he was in amongst the bush there on the side of the hill. As he was listening to what was going on about his environment, the wind rustling, everything, then he listened. All of a sudden, he heard quiet, and he was listening. It was quiet. All of a sudden, he heard somebody say, "Miski's going, saksek." My eyes pop out. All of a sudden, he heard that. All of a sudden, it was quiet. Miski's going upset. My eyes fall back in. All of a sudden, there'd be laughing going on. And he was wondering, what the heck's going on here? He couldn't see nothing, but it was in a brush. He was sitting in a bush in the brushes. And he lived for a while. He listened. Now he was attentively listening. Then he opened the bushes a little bit. And all of a sudden, he seen these little birds all in that bush, all clumped together. And then he was watching them. Now he was watching him in a kimoch and silently watching them, secretly watching them. Then he'd see the older birds fly off, then fly away, fly off, fly away, come back. Then they'd come back, and then these other birds would taunt them and say, "Do it again, do it again." They would be talking to one another, these birds, and he'd watch them attentively. And he watched these two little birds standing there, one big bird and one small bird. Skis going, saksek. My eyes come out. And all of a sudden, he seen those little birds' eyes pop out of their eyes, and they dangle in the sky. And then the little birds would say, "Skis go, napsek." Oh, and they'd fall back in, and they'd all jump up laughing. Oh, and then he said he was wondering, look what kind of gift these little birds have. It's so beautiful, he was saying. Then all of a sudden, he had, the bird just flew away. No. He said, "What the pasig? We get attacked the ocean." Oh, run away. We scared socks here. He's going to trick us. No, 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 no. He said, no, no, no. Wow, we're just admiring how beautiful you look, he was telling them. And he was just pleading with them because they're flying away. Then he walked with them down this little valley. And they're in the bushes and they're flying from bush to bush. And every time he got close, they'd fly away and they'd all start mocking him, saying, no, don't listen to him. He's gonna, he's gonna cheat us out of something. Oh, don't listen to him. He's a liar. And he kept on saying, no, no, little brothers, you're so beautiful. He said, I'm just so curious how beautiful you are. And also that beautiful gift you have. I just love watching you. Now he calmed them down. As he calmed them down, they all flew back. Now we see attack. He knew he got him now because a few of those younger ones who were young, a little immature about whiskey attack, they come back. They pitied him, said, no, let's listen to whiskey attack, what he has to say. And whiskey attack was just rubbing it into them, said, oh, you're so beautiful and you're so strong. How much you guys fly around. Oh man, you're so beautiful. And your voices, he said, oh, it's so beautiful. You guys have beautiful voices. And it's so good that you guys all work together. How come your two oldest ones do that for you? And then this little one was saying, oh, that's our elders and we got to listen to them. And you know what? They got a powerful gift to help us. Look, talk to them, Wisketsak. Well, can you get them to talk to me? Oh, yeah, and he really buttered him up. So that little bird went and talked to them. Wisketsak, our brother wants to talk to you. He wants to talk to you how beautiful your voice and your gift is. Sure enough, they all flew by him, right close to him now. Now he was telling them, oh, I traveled a long ways. I was so tired as I sat down and I was resting. And boy, you guys brought so much life to me when I saw you guys flying around. And what is it that you were doing with your eyes? He told them. Then they said, oh, no, 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 we can't tell you, Wisketsak. You'll make fun of. No, 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 no. That's a special gift you have. So I was really buttering them up. That's a special gift that you have. Okay, he said, okay. Well, I just want to hear. I'm just curious to hear because you guys are so beautiful and how you guys work together, how they fall. You are just buttering up those two old birds. Now, they said, okay. And that one bird said, how? So, how tumagno? Kistes na nexayan. Oh, well, pity our big brother. That one bird said, I said, okay. And he seen the sun just do it. Why do you do this? We get sarcastic little birds. Well, we do this to bring joy to ourselves, especially when we're having pain in our head. When we have a headache, instead of dwelling on our headache, what we do is that we throw out our eyes to get a different perspective and they fall back in. That's how we take care of ourselves when we carry too much burdens and we can't fly around. So what we do is we have a different perspective when our eyes pop out and they pop back in. It gives us a different perspective. We become healthier and we become stronger when we do that and have a different perspective in everything that we see, the stresses we have. Oh, really, Wisketsak? Dig it? Nanando ito swange. Say, we heal ourselves. My big brother, he said, that's how we heal ourselves. Oh, man, you got a powerful gift, he told him. He told him, if you help me, in my time, every time I walk around, I get headaches too, he said, from walking around. I started thinking, how can he get this gift off of him? Said, oh, every time I walk around, just like the time I was walking around, I saw you guys, how I came to observe this, I had a deadly headache. I was so tired, I couldn't help myself. He told him, oh, no, we won't give nothing to you for nothing, Wisketsak. No, I wouldn't do that to you, little brothers. He said, you guys got a special gift. But I want to get, better too when I have a headache, when my head bothers me. I want to see things differently in everything that I do, he told him. Oh, then he was telling a big sad story how him too, he has headaches and sometimes he's tunnel visioned, he can't see things different. Then he said, he said, if you guys exchange your gift, I'll give you something. What? I'll make you guys the best singers. You guys will sing early in the morning. You'll have a beautiful voice just like you do when you fly together. You'll have the most beautiful voice. People will hear you all over. You'll be the first ones to get up and they'll hear you. I'll give you a song, a morning song. All of you, and I'll make you beautiful. Different colors, all different colors, and you all work together and you'll have a voice. Oh, now they flew around. One didn't trust, maybe we should. And then they finally come together. We'll do it. Okay. You first, they told Iskatsak. So he started lining up those birds. Then he started making the different birds, the chickadees, the wrens, the magpies, all the different, not magpies, the black ones, that orange blackbirds. Started, and I'm going to give you guys different songs, different purposes. But he told those ones who had eyes were popping, you guys are going to sing early in the morning before the sun comes up. And before the sun goes down, you're going to sing. And my First Nations people will imitate you. They'll have a morning song. You'll get up with the sun before you go. That's how it's going to be. That's what I'm going to, and I'm going to give you guys feathers to keep you all summer, winter, fall, spring. That's how powerful I'm going to make you. As small as you are, you'll survive here on Turtle Island, he told him. And he gave him all those gifts. Now you got to give me your gift, he told him. Okay. All right, he told him. Okay. He said, all right. We do this when we get sick. Sometimes there's too much on our minds, and sometimes we don't see things clearly. What we do when we move from place to place, we get active and we stop and we ask our eyes to pop out and they pop in. And when they pop in, we get this euphoria, good feeling all over, and it brings happiness to us. That's what it'll do for you if you do it right. But there's one thing I got to tell you, Iskatsak. You cannot overdo it. You can only do it first time you do this. You can only do it 4 times. Oh, really? He said, yeah. Because you give us this gift, we're giving you this. You cannot go in excess of 4 times. If you do, you're on your own. There's no coming back. Oh, okay. The only time you can use this gift is when you have trouble seeing things in a correct way, or else when you have a headache, a migraine. Only then can you do it. Oh, Iskatsak was so glad now he got this gift. They exchanged his gift. Hi, he said he was so grateful. Oh, go, my little brothers, he told him. Puima, papam skak, go all over, he told him. Now that's where all these birds come from, these different species with different songs. They don't sound the same way. Now, as he started walking, now he was starting to walk. Oh, he was glad he had this. Now he was thinking, he told me only 4 times I'm supposed to do this. Then he said, oh, I better pay attention to it now as he's walking. And remember, he was down this path, going down into this gully. As he was walking through the shrubs and through the trees, now he came to a point where it was kind of plain. It was a plain. There's a little plain there. And on the other side of the plain, he noticed that there was a river. And he could see a long ways. And he could see further as now he was on top of a valley. And he could see a long ways. He could see there's jack pine and there's spruce trees. as he's walking. But now he's tired, as he is getting tired during the day, the course of the day, and he's walking on the prairie there. Oh, then he sits down. Oh, then now he's looking around. He was bored. Well, you know what I'm gonna do? He said, he didn't have no headache, but he says, oh boy, I gotta make out I have a headache. And then he grabbed his head. Oh, oh, saying, oh, and just shaking his head. He said, oh, I got such a migraine. I can't, it says nothing won't help how much walking I'm doing. And I just can't see right. I think I'm gonna use my little brother's gift he gave me, he was saying. But he was pretending though. It's okay. Now he said, then he put his head up to the sky. I said, skis going, socks sake. My eyes pop out. Sure enough, they popped out. Skis going up, sake, and they popped back in. Oh, the euphoria he had. Holy Moses, he just felt so good. Oh, you're just so happy. You're just laughing to himself. And you were just rolling around, just enjoying every moment of it. Oh, now then he got back. He was rolling around there in the prairie. Then he got back on his, he sat back up again. Oh, he just said, oh, that's unbelievable. Then he said, oh, I'll try it again. Skisko, sakseg. And then his eyes popped out again. Sure enough, he popped back in. Oh, and the feeling he had, the euphoria he had, and how much release. It felt so good about it. Oh, you're just so on cloud nine. Oh, and they just couldn't get enough of it. Then he said, okay, third time, skis go sick. And their eyes popped out. Skis go knapsack. And he fell back in. Oh, man, he was, you're just moaning around, rolling. He didn't realize how much rolling around he did on that prairie. And he was just rolling around and laughing, everything. He was just feeling good, just soaking it all in. He was soaking it in now. This was the third time. Now he stopped. I said, well, how many times was that? He didn't realize because he was in euphoria. He was so happy and he lost count. And I said, well, what the heck? One more time. I said, my headache. And he grabbed it. Said, it didn't completely go away. Then he was looking around. Oh, yeah, I could see better. He said, better focus. Now he said, for the fourth time, skisko, saksek. And so sure enough, his eyes popped out. Skisko, napsek. Oh my goodness, they popped in. Oh man, he was just rolling around again and just like he was just in the cloud nine. He was so grateful. Oh man, he was just rolling around. Oh, he said, my little brothers, you've done me good. That's all I need. Oh, I could see good. I have better perception. My mind is more clear. I feel so awesome. And he's just rolling around, just laughing and jovial and happy. And now he sat up and he started looking around. And he noticed that everything, oh, how beautiful everything was. And as he looked again, he seen across that valley I told you was coming towards, he could see spruce trees, but just below the valley there, he could see a river and he could see areas where there's brush. And he was just thinking to himself, well, which way will I go? I have to cross that river. He was thinking that, and as he was sitting there, now this euphoria was wearing off. Oh, but he just, when he just felt so good, now he wanted to feel that again. And he lost count. Then he said, skis going, saksek. And his eyes popped out now for the fifth time. They popped out now. He said, skis going, napsek. And he said, eyes popped back in. Next thing he heard, dunk, dunk, different directions. He heard his eyeballs fall somewhere else. Ooh, he was going now. Ooh, Now he was having a headache. He was holding his head. Now he had no eyeballs. He was told, you got to do it only 4 times. And he did it 5 times. And what ended up happening, his eyeballs didn't fall into place now. And he had a headache, excruciating headache, and he was holding his head. Now he couldn't see. He was blind. And he remembered what he saw before, but he was taking inventory of where he was. Now he started crawling. As he was crawling on, he was saying, where's my eyes? Nap six skis schoon. He was bleeding and crawling around saying, eyes, pop back in, where are you, my eyes? And his eyes had fallen in different places. Now, as he was crawling around, as he was crawling around, and he remembered where he was just by his memory. And he started feeling which way to go because he could listen in the wind. And he can hear the trees, the shrubs and the grass, and also the trees. So he started crawling. As he was crawling around, he started realizing he was going down a hill, crawling around. But he realized he was amongst brushes too. He was crawling in the brushes. He had his eyes open. And every once in a while, as he was going through the brush, things would scrape his face, and some would poke his eyes. And it would be just pitiful, just excruciating pain. And as he was crawling, and he'd take his time. Now I was crawling down that valley. He noticed something. He came out of the brushes. He was starting to feel around now because he was blind, starting to feel around, crawling. He noticed he came through an opening. He noticed there was grass, no brushes anymore, because he came through a little brush where it would scratch his face and poke his eyes. Now, as he was walking through that, he'd feel his way around with his hand. And he noticed every once in a while, he'd feel an energy, just like the wind go around him. But Muscat's was smart. He could tell the energy around him. Now he didn't realize there was an animal circling him. And that animal went and got a little twig. And then every time Muscat's started crawling around and stopped, when he knew that energy was there, that animal would take that stick, and every time Muscat's was going to crawl, he'd poke him in the eye. Oh, and he said, Diona, he said, what's poking me? What kind of tree? Then he start crawling again, and he start crawling again. Then that animal would poke his other eye. Oh! Now he got poked by both eyes because he had no eyeballs. That animal was wondering, what the heck? This guy has no eyeballs. So every time he moved, that's what he used, that stick. He'd poke him in the eyeball to see he had no eyeballs. But Whiskey-Chuck would get excruciating pain and have a headache, and then he'd hold his head. Oh, and then he'd cry. Then that animal run around. He said, I'm going to poke him one more time. Sure enough, as he went around, again, he poked him in the eye. Oh, now he knew that somebody was doing this to him. So now he said, and he was making out. Then he was going to make out. He was going to start crawling. As he was going to start crawling, he realized the energy of that animal was close to him, and he grabbed him. He grabbed him. Wow, and then on Simsa said, who's this which little brother is this? Geez, little brother, big brother. So this is me. I'm what you call Mainga. He said, I'm the fox. Wagos nin. Wagos. He said, you're the one that's been playing with me, told him. Oh, he told him, and he started feeling, oh, you must be ugly too. You look like a big, big rat. He was feeling him around. No, 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 big brother. Sige, no, that's what they said. I'm hungry too. And you're making fun of me. I should eat you. No, 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 big brother, he told him. No, no, I was just curious. So how come you had no eyes? That's why I kept poking him to make sure. Why you hurt me? He told him. Well, he told him, uh, is there anything I could do to help you? And then Whiskey told him, you know what, little brother? If you help me, I will help you too. I'll make you beautiful. But you got to do something for me. What? There's a direction I'm going. There's a river here on the other side of the river, quite a ways down the valley. I see some spruce trees and also jack pine trees. Can you see them, little brother? Yes, yes. Well, I want you, little brother. You can get there with your 4 legs pretty fast. I want you to go there and get me a bunch of gum. That gum that grows on the trees. And I want you to bring it back to me as fast as you can. And I will promise you, I will make you into a beautiful animal. I'll give you a special gift. And then Whiskey said that to him. And then he said, I'll let you go if you do that. If you don't, I'm going to eat you, he told him. No, 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 I'll do that for you, big brother. I will, big brother. I promise you, I'll go get you that gum you're wanting. Sure enough, he let go of that fox. Sure enough, and he waited there. Waited for a while. Wasn't long, that fox was fast. Fox are fast. He come back to Whiskey. Now, when he come back, he had a whole mouthful of gum, that sap, that gum from the jack pine and spruce. And Whiskey took that gum and he put it in his mouth, started chewing it, then he started rubbing his hands together, rolling up his hands. He said, little brother, you're going to witness something here, Wagos, fox. You're going to witness something here, what I'm going to do with this gum. In the future to come, you will see my two-legged people, the human being. They're going to have different color eyes. Then with that gum, he made 2 eyeballs and he put them into his eyes. Then he was able to see again. Said, now in the future to come, you're going to see people with hazelnut eyes, gray eyes, blue eyes, brown eyes, because of this gum. That's how the future is going to be. That's where the sight is going to come from, to have a different sight. Everybody will have the ability to have a different way of looking at things, provided they open their minds and provided they open their hearts. That's how it's going to be in the future to come. People have different eye colors. You will see that in the future, my little brother. And then he was, that fox started running around him and looking at him. Oh, you're handsome, he told him. Oh, you got different. And his eye colors changed. When they are born, they'll have this color. As time goes on, their colors will be different, he said. That's what's going to happen in the future to my two-legged people. That's why you have people with different eye colors. That's what my grandfather used to say. Now he was just, already he forgot what he promised the fox. That fox, okay. That fox asked, okay, it's my turn now. What are you going to do when you, remember what you promised me? Oh, don't be in a hurry, he told him. That's what you'll do, run around all over here looking for things. That's how your future is going to be. You're going to be so damn impatient, always running around trying to scheme. That's how you're going to be, he told him. Then that fox said, you promised me you're going to make me. Okay. He grabbed him. He was a short little stubby animal with a short tail and a pug nose. And his ears are just like they are just little round ears like that. So he said, first of all, I'm going to fix your ears, he told him. And he made his ears nice and sharp. Nice ears. And why I'm doing that? So you can hear better, he said, because you can't hear. And your tail, he said, oh, I'm going to make that tail beautiful. So he pulled his tail. Oh, he made it nice and long. the fox's tail, and his feet. And you're going to be lean. Then he pulled him out, stretched him out, made him nice and long. Said, oh, I'm going to make you beautiful, he told me. And then the fox was running around now. Oh, he looked, oh, one more thing, come back here, he told him. And he grabbed him by the nose and he pulled his nose out. Why, I'm going to give you that nose. You're going to be a mighty hunter, he told him. You're going to be a mighty hunter. You'll be able to catch all sorts of things underground with your nose. How powerful I'm going to make it, he told him. No, he was so proud running around. One more thing, he said, come here. So he took some dirt. Then he put it at the tip of his tail and along his feet and the tip of his nose. That's how beautiful I'm going to make you. Then he went along like this on the side of his hair. Then he said, every season your hair is going to change. Then he made it into a beautiful animal. Oh, he was just glowing and he was just so proud of himself. He'd run to the river and go look in the into the river, this mere. That fox, he was so admiring himself everywhere, looking at his body. He was so proud. Then he'd come back. Said, do I have any more promises for me? Yeah, I want to make you a good hunter. How much of a good hunter you are? I'm going to give you to hunt time immemorial all the mice on Turtle Island, he told him. That's what you're going to live on mice, he told him. And you're going to use your nose to hunt them. That's how powerful a hunter you're going to be. And then he said, the last gift I'm going to give you is because of your hide. My human beings, my Indian people are going to hunt your hide. So they'll be able to trade your hide and use your hide, he told him. That's where in the fur trade, the fox hide was so valued. And he told him that at the end, he ended up turning things on the fox. Now, when that happened, we could see. Now, what my grandfather used to say, when a story ended, he used to say, said, that's how far the gut goes. And what he meant was the intestines of an animal. What that meant was the end for that part. So now that's Wisketsak's story. That story goes on to another story for another hour. I have that story. The next story that goes into to the duck dance, the ghost dance. And then after that, it goes into there's another story. But anyways, I want to leave it at that to see if there's any questions, answers, anything like that. Hello?
I don't see any questions in the chat just yet. Maybe now that you said that, people will start asking questions.
Yeah.
I think everybody's so into your story. That was a great story. Wow.
I used to sit like this, listening to my grandfather. This is just a little tip, a little bit of that. And you know the sad part about all of this? I'm talking to it in English. I take away from it in how he spoke to in Soto.
Wow, that's amazing.
Every one of these teachings, Wisketsak did. Wisketsak also talked about sexuality and also incest. There's a story of the sun and the moon about incest, what we were not supposed to do. There's morals and values to everything Wisketsak did. Like I say, he was a trickster, but there was things that he did at the end for a person to make a choice that they shouldn't do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Julie says, my grandson asks to again tell us why their eyes popped out.
Their eyes popped out. Sometimes we don't see things right. Those were the gifts of the birds, little small birds. And for us to think right, to have a different perspective, and to always have joy. Everything that he did was based on healing and wellness. You always see people with a tunnel vision. They don't see everything around you. Be aware of everything around you. Be aware of what's going on in your head, in your mind, and the way you look at things.
Awesome. All right. There is another question from Jamie. She says, what is the significance of, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right, but Mahinkanen's wolf cubs in the Soto worldview? What does this mean?
The significance of Mahingan, there's so much teachings behind the Mahingan. He was the first one to be man's Wisketak's companion. He helped create the world, but he's also the first conservation officer. When a wolf kills an animal, he doesn't only eat it alone. He feeds the other animals. And not only that, when it comes to cubs, a wolf is really family orientated with the nucleus. They don't part, they stay together. And they're also loving. Some people, like you have the three little pigs, the big bad wolf, that's a European way of looking at things. The wolf is a good animal. There's a reason why there's a wolf. And wolves have songs. Wolves also have grieving songs. They all have these things they passed on. And our wolves, we honor those in all our ceremonies. And the wolf is up there just like the bear and the eagle. Today, in this contemporary, more modern world, we call the grandfather teachings. We have, I think, one of the teachings about courage is the wolf they speak of. But you know what it boils down to is the courage that wolf has. It's so vitally important. And that wolf, in all our ceremonies, it's captured in all the Soto ceremonies too. It's no different. You know, it's since colonization, that's when division began. We were all one human being with all similar belief systems. We all had, like, the wolf clan, the bear clan, different clan. There is a meaning to every animal we had. Did you guys enjoy the story?
Oh, yes, I did. I was right into it, just like you. Karen has a question. She says, is this trickster also called Nana Bush?
Nana Bush, yes. This is what I'm talking about. You know, assimilation, European language has really butchered our language. Wisketsak is the same as Nana Bush. In the Cree language, he's got Wisketsak. It's the same thing. In the Blackfoot language, it's called Nippi. Uskrap in the Algonquin language. It's the same thing, similarities. They're not a biblical, they're not a colonial perspective. These are First Nations worldviews. And we gotta go back to that.
All right. And Brooke has a question. She says, hi, Peter. It's Brenda's daughter, Brooke here. I was just wondering if there's any way I can connect with you more here in Saskatoon and with STC.
Yes, you call me at home, no sim. Inbox me, I'm on Facebook. And you know what, no sim, Brooke? Your mom was there when we were being told these Wisketsak stories from Grandpa Pies and Kuku. My grandpa, that was her great-grandfather, my grandfather.
That is awesome. Also, your daughter says, hi, Dad, you got your grandchildren here listening too. Always enjoy listening to you.
Yes, I always tell my grandchildren these stories, try to tell them these stories anyways. Yeah. No, there's so many stories that go along this line. And it's all, and there are times I wish I could have, as time went on, I wish I would have had a recorder. I could have recorded these people. And I remember another story I'll talk just a bit about. Is there any more questions?
Not that I see right now, so you can go ahead.
Okay. This story comes from my late uncle, old Deaf Henry from Kawaklos First Nation. He was born in a 1800s or late 1800s, beginning of 1900s, and there was an old man. He talked about an old warrior. It's in the Punachai Times in the early 19. I think it was in the 19. Either the late 1900s, like 1912 or 20, around there. There was an old warrior. His name was Amiskosis, Old Worm. He was an intertribal warrior. He fought the Blackfoot. And old Henry Kay used to go see this old man for stories. And one of the things that old man talked to him about was how powerful the old people were a long time ago when they did intertribal warfare. The old people used to communicate with spirituality and the gifts that they have. And then they talk about this. He talked about this fight they had up with the Blackfoot and the Crees, and it's recorded in Lethbridge, Alberta, that the Crees got annihilated by the Blackfoot. But there was a few that survived there. That's not recorded, but they had few had survived, and they survived because they had spirituality on their side. And that one he talked about was an old man. That one old man, Amiskosis, and how they survived was that Belly River they're on, or that river that in Lethbridge, they all got pretty well killed. So some of them got shot with muskets. Some of them faked their own deaths to fall into the river. A few of them faked. And what ended up happening was that under the river, under the edge of the river, there was there's like a little tunnel, and there was a little breathing hole there. And that's where they stayed underneath. And the Blackfoot would run all over all night. They would make fires looking for any survivors to kill them all. But those people, there's around 3 or 4 of them that the Crees that stayed underneath that river, underneath in an air pocket, underneath the river, like on the edge. So they would go and check at night to see how much, if they could get away, but they had bonfires along the river. So what ended up happening was that they found some alkali. It's like alkali is white, and they would paint themselves with that. And that's like war paint, but but also that's what his spirit helper is, the one that he called upon to help him. That's what they told him, to paint themselves with that, so they wouldn't be they in the eyes of the Blackfoot, they'd be invisible. So what ended up happening was that that's how they colored themselves, and that's how they got away. They floated down the river until they got away from the Blackfoot, and they made it back. And they were able to talk about the war deeds, and they had a hard time coming back because some of them had to fix their wounds, and it took them a long time to get back, but they made it back. But the reason why he told me that story was that old man had a spirit that helped him, and it's called Vitagopiesio. And it's like it's a deadly spirit that helped him survive. So he used to honor that spirit, and he had a song, and also how to point the pipe to it about that spirit. He told me that's the spirit that kept him going, but he also got gifts from that spirit. So he told me when he became an old man, he had a knife, a big knife, just like the size of a machete, and he kept that old man. And he would pray to that knife, and that knife would help him. And that's the thing that helped him. He came out of that river with, what I'm trying to say is that they were pitied. So, and he carried that knife, and that knife he would pray to. And he told me back in the either 20s or whatever, one guy had froze his hand, and he couldn't get better with medicine. So what that old Amiskosis did was that he got a piece of wood, a log, and he prayed to that knife, and he cut his hand off here. That guy didn't get an infected hand. But the thing about it all was that that guy also didn't do what he was supposed to do in ceremony. Well, that's what cost him his hand. And that's what that old man had shared with him. So the point of what I'm trying to say is that the spirituality they had back then was so strong, and the things that they possessed, they used. Like they used a knife right away. A white man would say, "Well, you gotta know antiseptic, and all that." But that man used herbs and that. They were known for herbs, and they fixed his hand. That guy was okay. So those are some other stories that come to my mind that old man used to talk to me about. That's one of them. That's all I have to say. Anything else?
Karen has a question. She says, have you heard stories of the little people in the bush? My mother remembers her mother, my mother remembers her mother telling her not to go too close to the bushes because of the little people.
I got a good story on the little people and how the hand games were a gift from the little people, and the medicines were from the little people. And the little people, they like to live along the river banks of rivers, sandy places. Back home in Kiniston, we have an area where we honor them with gifts. I believe in that full-heartedly. I was taught how to make offerings to them, and I still do make offerings to them, the little people, and not to be afraid of them, because they're a good luck spirit. But you have to honor them. They taught you about the unseen. They taught you about the belief system, and they taught you how to about your belief, how to strengthen your belief. But also, if you see them, you're given a gift, and you honor that. I was told never to be scared of them, just to be aware of them, and to be respectful to them. I don't believe they exist. Does that answer your question?
I think that answers your question. I hope so, Karen. Also, Jamie has a question. Is there a place or service that offers Sauro language lessons, either virtually or in person?
That's a good question. I'm
We'll
sure there
out.
is. If you want to learn, there is a way. If not, make your way. You know, I always say this to people. People say we lost our language. No, we never lost our language. It's just that we lose ourselves in trying to find the ability to look for ways to learn our language. Your language is never lost, because the spirit is alive within you. The language is creator given, so it's spiritual. But how spiritual are you? There's not a lot of people that aren't spiritual. And you know what? They don't have the commitment and the involvement to learn it. They want to be involved, but no commitment. So it requires commitment. It's in you. You can learn the language. I tell that to people, no matter, if you make mistakes, so what? There are so many languages a person can learn. The spirit is alive, especially the Nehiao, Nakoe language, Deni Sutherland, the Poatak, Nehio Poatak, Pasi Mok, all these different languages, you can learn them. It wasn't not extraordinary. A long time ago, our people used to know 4 or 5 languages. It's all up here, and the spirit of that language. That's all you have to. The power of prayer, and the power of doing things over and over, trying to learn the language. You can find it, and there's all sorts of apps. It's coming out now, left and right.
All right, there's a question. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. I think it's Bo Sadie. He says, what do I take away from these stories as an ally?
What do you take away from these stories is values. You learn from the languages. I mean, you learn from the stories. You learn the values. What's the value of Whiskey at Sock? What he did that? He cheated those little birds, but he gave them a gift. And what I mean cheated, he didn't listen to their wise words, but he gave them a beautiful gift. We still hear the birds singing. We still hear the morning songs everybody has. So when you look at the meaning of the stories, everybody thinks with a colonial mind, and we learn for a linear mind when we're holistic. Everything we got is about wellness. Why did those eyes pop out? The teaching behind that is how do you see things in life? What goes on in your mind? Then we fly all over everywhere when we're so depressed and we don't see a better perspective. And what happens when we get a better perspective? Addictions kick in. We overdo it. Just like what we said, Chuck, he overdone it because he was so caught up in this addiction of euphoria. So when you say, what do we take out of it? We get a better understanding. There's a teaching tool to everything we're taught. When I look back now, what my grandparents, that was a way of life for me. I breathed it, I slept with it, I woke up with it, and I breathed it, and I talked it, I walked it. When I look back at it now, it's totally different from my grandchildren, where they're on their iPhone, or else they're on their phones learning these things, where I had to sit to my grandpa, fall asleep, and I had to listen and hear. Stop, look, listen, and hear. Pay attention. And the old people, there's a teaching behind that. It says, "Kamot tapin, kamot tapin." You sit attentively, listening. That's what that is. And we don't have that today. Anything else?
I don't see anything else in the chat unless somebody posts something right away. Oh. No, everyone's just saying thank you. Thank you. Oh, so valuable to listen to you. I wish I could spend days and days and days with you to hear more.
You know, I wanna talk about this too. Today, we live in a society where everybody's labeled. And we wear these labels so proudly, like the veterans wear their medals. And what I'm talking about, we like to label ourselves as traditional people, contemporary people, all of this. We're Nakaway, we're Nehio, all of this. But when I look at it, where are we? And especially today, when we're trying to accommodate the colonial mindset, we call ourselves Soto. We're not Soto Inis, we're Anishinaabe or Nakaway Inuk. We need to go back to the original name, a former state, a recovery state, and who we really are today. That's why I say our worldviews are similar. We didn't have a division like the colonialists want us to believe. There's the Crees, there's the Sotos, there's the Sioux. At one point in time, we had an alliance, the Sioux, the Cree, and the Nakota, the Sioux. It was called the Iron Nation. We got to go back to who we really are in roots, because now today we all have this ethnocentric mentality, and the old people always used to tell me. My uncle used to tell me, put it into my head, think like a First Nations person, think like a Nehio, think like a Nahawainio, not like a Moniao. When you look at life through the lens of the ethnocentric person or the colonialist, the settler view, you have a hierarchical system. And it's all in perimeters. Us, it was not like that. Our worldview is totally different from their worldview. We didn't do anything to our saviors, and our savior is outside. Everything creation started. The sun has its purpose. The moon has its purpose. The sky has its purpose, and the winds have their purpose. Our people knew the world was round before the white people because the sun was round, the moon was round. Our people knew there was 13 moons in a year, but we follow the Roman ideology of 12 calendar years. And when you look at the turtle island is named after a turtle, Mikinat, and it has 13 separations on its back to talk about the 13 moons we have as First Nations people. Everything was interconnected. The 4 directions, the 4 seasons, everything you did in 4, the 4 quadrants, everything, the 4 dimensions, everything was in 4. And then from the Cree perspective, there's 6, because you got the 4 directions, and you got Father Sky, Mother Earth, everything. There's a reason why Treaty 4 was signed for the 4 seasons, the 4 dimensions, the 4 directions. Why Treaty 6 was signed for those 6 things I talk about. There's a reason why First Nations people did what they did a long time ago. And we had our scholars, we had our educated people, we had our doctors, we had everything before the white man arrived. Money was not a big part of our life. Today it is. Why? Because without it, we're nowhere. Any other comments, questions?
Karen did say, who is the Iron Nation?
The Iron Nations are the Sauro people. The Crees, the Sauros, the Crees, and the Nakota the Nakota Nation, the Sioux. You go back in history, that's recorded in history. There was always an alliance. Nobody did anything alone. Today we have this, today we have grown because of colonization, because of historical trauma, intergenerational trauma, personal trauma, vicarious trauma. We have grown today to be dependent, but also we're all individualistic today. We're not communal like the way it was a long time ago. And as First Nations people, we're communal. And like I said, it took a community to raise a child. Even people may differ because of their teachings, but everybody was included, everybody in the family. When I was raised, it was my aunties and uncles that taught me the values. It was my mom that disciplined me, and my father was the nurturer. And as time went on, things changed because of alcoholism, that disruption in the family systems. So in order to understand where we come from today, and even the residential schools, how they were, the genocidal practices of the settlers and the colonialists, how they really kill the Indian, save the child policy really did a good number on us with the genocidal practices that are still in place with policy. That wraps it up to about 4 o'clock, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you so much, Peter. Oh, there's one more question here, I think.
Okay.
Oh, never mind. It's for us, I guess. It's just someone's wondering where to view these recordings. We do record these and then we'll post them onto our YouTube page from what I know. But yeah, I'm not sure when we'll have those out, as soon as possible, because we have to just do some editing on them and then we'll get those out.
Okay.
But yeah, thank you so much, Peter. Like, your stories have been wonderful. Like, I'm just so like I love them. I could listen and listen for days. So thank you so much for that. And for Senator Nora as well for being here as well and telling her awesome stories. You guys have shared some wonderful knowledge, and thank you for being so generous and sharing it with us today. And also, we have one more of our, one more Indigenous Storytelling Month series that'll be on February 28th. that'll be with Lyndon and his mom Maria. So you guys gotta be there. It's our final one. I'm super excited for it. Also, if you guys want updates or anything on events, upcoming events, you guys can sign up for our newsletter at www.otc.ca. And yeah, thank you guys for joining, and we hope to see you guys in the next week. See you later, everyone.
Okay.